Hey there! It is about 1:30 in the morning. I am back here at the Makerspace in the machine shop. That's how I entered in. You can see behind me I brought the blue gorilla, where we have a few mascots hanging up in the sky. We have a giant toucan, now we have a giant gorilla. We'll get some safety glasses for him later on, but we're going to walk through an entire sieve process today. I'll show y'all how we kind of walk through it, how everything's done, and a little bit behind the scenes. We started a metal print earlier today. When I left, it was about 38%. Now I believe, if the math is right, we're around 25% or so, and we want to double check, make sure we sieve so there's plenty of powder in the silo. That way we can come back tomorrow morning and not have to worry about, getting more powder in there right away. We should, if I left it right now, it would make it until about 10 a.m. or so, where it would reach around 6%. So we're just going to make sure there's an ample powder in the metal printer. So let's make our way on over to the metal print lab and get started. So upon opening the metal print lab door, we met one of our other mascots here. He's just a mannequin that always seems to move around the Makerspace at night. So today I opened the door and it terrified me to see someone, but it's just our friendly mannequin. He's all PPE'd up, what we're going to be wearing here soon to do our metal print lab process. So we'll come into the interim, and this is where we have all of our PPE. We have our fire retardant chemical splash lab coats here, and then over here we have our kind of respirators, steel toes, things like that, and then some other accessories for the metal print lab. So let's go ahead and get all of our PPE on, and then we can get into the lab and start sieving with the metal printer. Alright, so first thing I want to do is get my fire retardant chemical splash lab coat on, and mine just sits over here. So we'll get this on. This is just going to keep powder off of us and also to protect us. And then I have my respirator over here. We use P100s to keep the filter or the powder out of our lungs. Rather, little desiccant bags in there to make sure there's no moisture in the bags when we seal it with our mask. We don't want any bacteria growing in our respirator. That would be very bad. Once we put a respirator on, we're going to get nitrile gloves on, and that's inside of the lab. We'll see that here soon. I'll get my nitrile gloves on, I'll put my respirator on, we're going to open up the side of the printer, and we're going to figure out how much powder we have in there and how much we need to sieve. And then of course, now that I'm going to go in there and start opening things up, it's going to be a powder exposure threat. So we want to switch our sign here that says attention, enter with caution, printer in standby/operation. We're going to go ahead and swap it out to danger, do not enter. It is a powder exposure threat, personal protection equipment required. We have that on the other doors as well that I'll flip around here. So this just lets everyone know that walks by, hey, don't enter. It's a powder exposure threat, but of course it's 1 a.m. so there probably isn't anyone in here. I just heard the metal printer cycle. It's getting more argon in there. So let's go ahead and go on in. Alrighty, I got my nitrile gloves on, now where it's very echoey. I'm going to go ahead and come to our screen. So this is our Renault AM400. There is the metal print going on right now. You can see it scanning, pretty cool, pretty cool. You never get tired of that sight. So we're on this screen, we're going to go to view parameters, and then down here it's going to be powder level, and it says powder level is 24%, right there. So pretty cool. We hit the mark. We said it was about 25%. It is about 25%. It's 24. So we're going to go ahead and come to the side of the printer. This door right here, we're going to open it up. And that's going to expose our overflow chambers, which there's one right there and there's one right there. And that's where the overflow, it kind of captures all the powder during the print. There is a overflow hole right there underneath the doser, and then an overflow right kind of there. You can see the hole. It stretches the whole way. And then those tubes, the excess powder is pushed down and feeds into our overflows. And that's what we're going to grab from and sieve out and recycle it back up top to our silo, which is, you can see the little yellow thing. That's our powder percentage sensor. It sticks right on top of the silo. That's where we're going to put all the extra powder. And we're going to keep it going. We're probably going to do about probably about 2 cycles, to be honest. So we'll do that guy, and then probably all that's left in there, which would probably be 1. Usually when it's full, it takes up to 4 sieves. So that's crazy, but we won't have to do that since it's, once again, it gets pretty lonely in here, very quiet, and you hear that constant ringing. I usually like to play some music, so I got my speaker over there. I'm gonna start playing some music and get working. Okay, so just came out of there. It's still a powder exposure set. I can't be in there without the mask, so I came out here so I could take the mask off and explain what's happening. So I opened up the side of the printer and I noticed that, okay, the back overflow was very, very minimal powder in there, same as the front. So I could just combine them and sieve once, right? So I sat there and I combined the two bottles. I put the large overflow on top and then let that drain into the small overflow. The small overflows are the only ones that we can put on top of the sieve, right? The big one is just too big and clunky and it's gonna destroy the sieve. So I transferred it over. I noticed that one of the clips was very not tight. So I went ahead and replaced that. I got another one of our clamps off of the shelf and I replaced it on there, and then I put the large overflow back into the printer once I was done. One of the best parts about the metal print lab is you get to whack everything with the mallet to get the powder to transfer much quicker, and that's what we did. I took the mallet, hit it a few times, and got the powder to go from the large overflow to the small overflow, and then I took it back to our sieve room. And now that we're in the sieve room, I could put it on top of the sieve. I wanted to make sure that we had the argon flowing. We run the sieve in an inert environment, so hence we run the argon at 3 psi. I want to double check all the valves are open, make sure all the oxygen is pushed up to the top, and then I expel the oxygen, open up the top valve, close it once again, and then I put the overflow, or I guess the powder that we just got out of the printer, on top, and I went out back, turned on the sieve, came back around, opened up all the valves, let the powder fall through the sieve. Now that it's shaking really violently, it's going to filter out all the condensate and partially melted powder and bad stuff. So all the good stuff is going to fall through to a brand new overflow container that we're going to reintroduce to our silo that we'll see here soon. And then we'll take that and put it back into our overflow on the side of the printer. Now I'm out here able to talk for about 2 minutes now because each sieve we want to wait, or I guess each last sieve process we want to make sure it's done for 10 minutes. That way we can get all the good powder out as possible. And since this is technically the last sieve, because I'm only doing one, I'm going to sit here and let it sit for about 10 minutes and get all the good stuff out, and then I could reintroduce it to the printer and do all the other good stuff. So let's get right back in there, enjoy the music, and put it back in the printer. Excuse me, sir. Alrighty, so the sieve room door is closed. All the side paneling on the printer is closed, so it's now no longer a powder exposure threat. That way I can take my mask off and explain what I did and what happened. So, first in the sieve room, after we got done with our container, we had to go to the bottom of our sieve, and that's where we got the powder that was good and sieved to take out. The overflow that was on top, it was now empty since we emptied it out all to the sieve. So we took that top one out, put it at the bottom. We just cycled them through. So now it's empty. We put it on the bottom, an empty container to be, sieved and then introduced with the good powder to take out. Then since we got the good powder to take out, we brought it out back and we loaded it into our silo up top. You saw that. And there you saw the little bucket underneath the overflow containers in the sieve room, and that's just to make sure that we don't have any spillage. Sometimes we're sieving when the bottles are completely full, and if there's too much powder through the sieve process, it's going to overflow and it spills onto the floor. That little gray box just recatches all the powder so we can reintroduce it and sieve it again, so we don't have any waste. When I went up top to introduce it to the silo, I stopped. I was like, wait a minute, we have to do something before we put it in. And what I did was I came over here and upped the dosing to 100%. So typically we sit at 40% dosing, and I'll lower it down back to 40 right now. The reason why I jumped to 100% dosage before I introduce it to the silo is because once we open up those valves, we sometimes have gotten some air leaks into the silo where you kind of get underdosing on the print. So as the wiper blade pushes, you don't get proper dosing or proper powder exposure all over the build plate. Some parts it's missing. So that's why I just up the dosing. That way we make sure that we get proper dosing throughout the whole build plate. After I put it into the sieve and got everything down, then I can come back here and lower the dosing back to 40%. Now that the silo isn't open, there's no possible way for oxygen to get in there. So we'll go to view parameters, and look at that. We're sitting at 33% powder level. So right where we wanted. That's a good stopping point for tonight. So that way we can come into the metal print lab tomorrow around noonish and not have to worry about, oh my gosh, we got to sieve right now before we run out of powder. So we are plenty. That's the whole point of sieving during a print, to make sure you have enough powder continuously throughout your whole print. You don't necessarily need a ton of powder to print a build plate. You could just get a decent amount and just keep re-sieving through the whole print process. So it's a good money saver. You don't have to get a whole bunch of powder. One other thing I forgot to touch on, I'm not cleaning the sieve right now. That's because we are still running a print where it's a 50-hour print. We're about 10 hours in. Once it's done, then we de-powder and get all the powder out, and then we have to sieve all of that powder. So we wait until a print is completely done before we clean out the sieve. And what that entails is opening up the sieve, exposing the filter, getting our huge, humongous, powerful vacuum here, and we vacuum up all the condensate out of that filter and then clean it all with IPA and then put it back together again. We only do that once again after a whole print, because there's no point of cleaning it out, deep cleaning, and then in a few hours once the print's done, we de-powder and do the whole thing all over again. So we just wait until the print's completely done. But there it is. There's our print going right now. It is actually a decomposition blade tool for the machine shop Roomba. So we have a senior design team doing a little, basically a Roomba for the machine shop that picks up metal shavings and scraps that we have in the machine shop, mostly just aluminum stuff, but it's pretty cool. Thank you for watching, coming with me, and being here with me while I sieve at 2 a.m. in the morning. Hopefully we can do it more, but thanks for watching.